For those who lose between 8 and 20 hours. For more, I'm joined by Treasurer Josh Frydenberg. Morning to you, Treasurer. So this is the third time in 6 weeks the government has changed that criteria for income and business support. Has your hand been forced here?
Well, as the virus evolves, so does our response, Nat, and what we're doing is providing income support from day one of this lockdown in Victoria, as long as the workers lose the requisite number of hours per week. And as you say, a $375 payment if you've lost between 8 and 19 hours a week, and if you've lost 20 or more hours a week of work, then you're eligible for the $600 payment, and people can apply through Services Australia.
Yeah, it's a great initiative, and I'm sure Victorians are cheering, but it seems it only has happened since the Victorian government has been bullying the Commonwealth all week and saying they've been begging for crumbs and they're about to launch a 5-day lockdown. Is that the case?
Oh, as the Commonwealth, we don't get bullied by anyone. The reality is we've provided very significant support across the country, more than $300 billion in direct health and economic support since the pandemic began. But Victoria is going to its 5th lockdown, and their last lockdown was just over a month ago. So these are very trying days, not just for the people of Victoria, but obviously the more than 5 million people across New South Wales who this morning are also subject to lockdown orders. But our country will get through this, Nat. We'll come together, we'll support each other, and importantly, we'll be stronger at the other end of this crisis. And just yesterday, we got some very welcome news about the resilience of our labour market, with the unemployment rate falling to 4.9%, the lowest in a decade. This took into account the recent lockdown in Victoria, but it didn't take into account the most recent lockdown in New South Wales. So we'll wait and see what happens with future jobs numbers, but certainly the numbers that we received yesterday are a sign that the economy is remarkably resilient. Yeah,
they are great figures. You must be, absolutely rapt about those today. The underemployment figure, it's risen to 7.9%. How concerning is that people aren't getting enough work, I guess?
Well, a couple of points. The headline number is the unemployment number, and more than 50,000 new jobs were created. And it was the 8th consecutive month that the unemployment rate fell. With respect to underemployment, this was really off the back of what happened in Victoria. Around 40 million hours of work were lost over the course of that month, and we've seen the underemployment rate spike up by more than 8% in Victoria. The hours of work that were lost in Victoria over that month spiked up by more than 8%. But the underemployment rate that you refer to is still the lowest level it's been effectively since 2014. So there is some resilience in the economy despite that underemployment rate just ticking up off the back of what happened in Victoria.
Okay, we've got obviously big problems in Sydney with the lockdown and now Melbourne. How concerned are you that this will affect the economy as a whole?
Nat, I think it will affect the economy. It affects investment decisions that get delayed. Obviously, the border closures prevent people moving more freely between states. Supply chains get disrupted, and obviously people either lose their jobs or are not working the hours that they normally would. So it is very difficult for the economy. But again, yesterday's numbers show that we're remarkably resilient. Ahead of any advanced economy around the world, our economy is now bigger than it was going into the pandemic, and more people are in work today than going into the pandemic. So there is reason for Australians, despite the current challenges that we face, to know that we will get to the other side and we'll be stronger for it.
Okay, we know you have to go, Treasurer. Thank you for your time this morning.
All the best.